Hello, good day. My name is Alister Albert. I am the founder of the Actors Post, and we're doing a really lovely interview today with Drazen Priganica, who's a professional photographer who's based here in Leeds, and he's going to have a really lovely conversation with us about how he got into photography, some of the challenges he's faced, and maybe give some advice to people who will be really thinking about going into photography and anything within the entertainment industry. So without further ado, we're going to start the interview and get some really good nuggets of information from Drazen. Hello, good day. My name is Alister Albert, and we'll be doing an interview with Drazen Priganica, who is a professional photographer from Leeds, and he's originally from Croatia, but now settled here and doing some amazing work in photography at his studio. And we're going to just find out a little more about him. So welcome, Drazen.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so for the first question, I'll just go straight off into it, and just to get a little bit of a feel of who you are, and for the audience who might not know who you are and the work that you do, can you tell us a little bit about how you got into photography?
I got in photography since I was young, as I'm not anymore, but it was all kind of with me all the time since my teen years, and that's before digital and before there was mobile phones. So yeah, when I realized that my father is really bad at taking family photos, that the heads were missing and stuff, so I took over.
Okay.
So, and but all jokes aside, I was always attracted by kind of light and what you can do effects as a light. And I was in my previous life before I was a photographer, I was a light designer. So, and as a light designer, I was kind of feel that photography was always there with me because I was trying to capture what I want to show with the light. And one thing led to another, and changes happened in my life. And when I moved to Spain, I decided to completely just try and go photography full-time.
So how did you end up building your life as a photographer living in Leeds? What came about from moving from Spain to Leeds?
Yeah, we lived, before Spain, I lived and worked in Ireland. And we got married there. My wife is Irish, and then we decided we have to try and live in Spain. That was both on our bucket list, so we decided, went to Spain, lived in Valencia, and for a while until it was really good. My work was good there and everything, but the economy crash came. And as a family, we have to decide to look for our work somewhere else, and to live, and that's how we came to Leeds.
Okay. In terms of when you started out as a photographer in Spain, how difficult was it to become a photographer at that time?
Quite difficult. I have to say I had a bit of transition period, lucky enough that I wasn't financially under pressure, that I have to make it or break it in a few months. So I could ease in. I could have tried to, since I knew what I wanted already, I wanted to try to push my work to the people I think you'd be interested with my work. Or you offer your work for free as well, which you have to do sometimes, but you offer to work for free something that you love. If you love to work, I don't know, I was working for theater, ballet, and that kind of stuff. I always loved that. So I give my work for free sometimes, offer to the ballet schools or ballet groups. And after they liked my work, I was confident, then they started paying me for it, So you have to I try to push my work, but only in the direction that I like. So, because sometimes I see some young photographers will take anything for free for the exposure, but you don't want to take jobs for free, something that you don't want to work in the future, because in photography they can niche you very fast and then you're stuck with it.
Okay, so that makes perfect sense. You developed an area that you liked and you stuck to it, and that's how you kind of developed, giving your work some exposure by doing some free work, and then you got yourself out there. That makes total sense. And based on when you started back then, what would you say is the difference between then and now?
The big difference is the influence of social media. I think now the exposure, but also oversaturated market with photography, it just makes it difficult for any newcomers. And even for us who are doing this for more than 10, 15 years, 20 years, it's really difficult because there's so much photography out there that you really have to be lucky that your thing, your work will be captured or noticed by somebody who can change your life or give you right work that you want.
Photography, I think, is widely accepted as a form of art, but I'm not certain that many would consider it a form of entertainment. Would you consider it a form of entertainment from your perspective? And considering it is meant to attract the attention of people who is watching, what do you think about photography and entertainment in that way?
It kind of is entertainment or art. I think it's more in the service of art and in the service of entertainment. If you want to entertain with your photography, the most entertaining photography would be always some candid photos. In the moment, luck of the moment, and you were there with the camera, you caught it, as I said, Kodak moment in the old days. Or if it's really commercial photography, and they try to, team of commercial experts try to come up with a photography that's going to entertain and attract people. But otherwise, I think it's only more kind of skillful manipulation photography to serve for the purpose of entertainment.
Okay, well, that's interesting then, because moving on to the next question, with entertainment in mind, how do you go about creating photography that is meant to entertain and capture your audience's attention? Now, bearing in mind you just mentioned that sometimes you have your marketing teams that will develop a certain structure for photography and entertainment to follow. How would you be able to use your photography to capture an audience's imagination?
Well, I think I never do, really, to be honest.
Right.
It's for some reason some great photographers are great commercial photographers, and they do for the commercials, and they do for the ads and for the commercial campaigns, and they're brilliant in the work that they do. But I'm more into candid photography. I try to catch the moment at the time, and when I do the photography, I'm very selfish. I never think of how people will react to it, or how will they like it or not, or how it's going to happen. It's all if I like it at that time. And that time when I'm pressing the button, it's what it counts for me. So, but I know a lot of great commercial photographers who are very methodical about what they want to achieve.
Right.
And I don't have that methodical streak to really prepare what I want to do.
So you're really just capturing, like you say, at that moment, that Kodak moment, something that catches your attention. That makes sense. And I think that's what makes photography really pure and really real, because capturing candid moments are what really draws people's attention, because they're like, you wouldn't think of, capturing someone doing something whilst they don't notice, and that actually becomes artful in itself. So that makes sense. And I've noticed a lot of your photography is very movement and character oriented. Is that a major inspiration to your work, working with performers directly, or?
Yes, I do like that world of entertainment, world of stage, of any kind, theater, ballet actors, or athletes. Anybody, especially the moments they're candid, when the people are in their own world, when they're thinking, when they're concentrating, when they don't know you're there, when they don't pay attention at you, they're just paying attention of what they have to do and how they have to react, when they show their real face.
Right.
So I always try to kind of on a sneaky way, try to catch their real emotions, real expressions. So I always kind of feel cheated when I see people noticing me and then they give me a smile for the camera. Right. I always feel, oh no, don't do that to me. So,
you just want to capture it.
I just want to capture them as they are. And especially when you're backstage, actors, as you would know, so you get in your stage off before you go to the audience. You have to prepare yourself, and then it's a kind of special feeling, and I try to capture that feeling.
I noticed a really good example of that on your Instagram page, where you have some pictures on not stage performances but Leeds Carnival that just passed recently, and you took some really good pictures of people who didn't notice, although there was one lady who kind of posed for the camera. But capturing those candid moments, just those pictures, I remember, they really draw people's attention to it because they were not aware. So that makes total sense. So anyone who's watching this interview right now, check out Drazen's Instagram. He has some really lovely photos in there. You'll check them out and you'll see what I'm talking about. What's the most challenging thing you've faced, you think, as a photographer in general? In general,
getting clients that will pay you good and that will appreciate the work that you're doing.
Right.
Sometimes they want to pay you good, but they want you to do something that's not really you. It's happening a lot. They say, oh, I like your work. I want to hire you to do something for me, but can you do it differently? Not like you are doing it, but more moderate, more like everybody else.
Right.
And that's something that I would like people to appreciate when they start getting their clients, to get the clients that they understand. I mean, it's a holy grail of any entertainment. I think any artist, how you get noticed and how you get appreciated, you get your break with the right people or the wrong people. It's in every, I think, form of art. Not the most exposed artists would be the ones that are the best. It's just, you know, how it is. Not the best Hollywood actors would be the best actors in the world, just because they're the best known.
Right.
It's, you know, it's
And
a real break.
I think that goes back to one of the things you mentioned about, you know, trying to stand out. If someone is trying to tell you, you know, to change the way you normally do things, it kind of just makes you blend in rather than standing out. So that makes total sense. Would you say there have been any particular difficulties that you faced moving from Croatia to Spain to Ireland to the UK? Is there anything that really stands out as a particular challenge that you faced since you moved to Leeds? Is it just clients, getting clients, or anything else?
Yes, I say it was a change in a way, sense that in Spain I had kind of name and successful business, and I was working in different areas of photography, from commercial clients. That was really good, and you kind of come from that being spoiled a bit to a new territory that nobody basically knows you. Few people in the industry that knew me, but you still have to make a new start for yourself, and that's kind of hard. And sometimes you just have to accept that what is more important to you. Is it your work? Is it how you want to present yourself? Or because I didn't have problem to work part-time, other jobs, so I can keep my photography alive. And I think a lot of other artists have to do the same. So if you want to do in a photography what you like, but that not necessarily will pay your bills at the moment, you can still do something else that will pay your bills and keep your photography alive.
Right.
As I was working here as well, that was the biggest thing that I noticed. I didn't want to do photography for the agencies, for that white background catalog stuff. Because after that, I was drained I didn't want to pick up the camera and do the things that I really like.
Okay.
My passion became the job that really drained you.
Right.
So I thought, I don't want to do that for a living. I would prefer do something else for a living and then take the camera only for what I like.
As a hobby.
As a hobby. And a well-paid hobby. And that I had to do that for a while, and it's fine. But it's better that way than to do something that will kill your soul, as I would say.
True. So, totally know what you mean. Yeah, once you could keep your passion going, it makes everything a lot more live.
Exactly,
so makes sense. You've photographed some amazing individuals and also events. Have you ever had a hobby where you wish that hobby would have led to you being on the other side of the camera, being photographed rather than you being the photographer?
Oh no, never. Never.
You've always wanted to be a photographer.
Even as a kid, I was not camera shy, but I was always the observer of people. I can't say that I'm the biggest fan of human race for what we did with the planet and everything, but I like people observing, and well, my camera is just the extension of that.
Gotcha.
So I can catch those, as you said, candid moments, and I see the real people when they're just themselves.
Excellent. So. If there was one person, a group, or event that you could shoot, who or what would that be?
The event.
Person or event?
Oh yes, person. I would say this just because I know the young students might listen, and watch this. But if you can, even if for free or whatever, go and shoot some famous person, because that will open more door than any other good photography you did.
Yep.
If you make a portrait for whatever reason, of someone famous, an actor, whatever, that'll open so many doors for you.
Right.
For wrong reasons, just because not because your work is good, but because that
The person
face
that you
on your photo is
Right.
famous and recognizable. But otherwise, I on my list, on my to-do list for photography, I wanted to start working as a film set photographer. That's something that interested me. I try all the other forms of stage or of dance or of theater,
Right.
Ballet, opera. I didn't work on the film set. And it's another, art different, I guess, and it's different and it's open air and all that, but that's something I would like to do.
Excellent. Well, going back to that same question of famous people, who would be the most famous person that you've photographed?
I don't know really. I can't say. Nobody on A-list Hollywood or somebody that would here be recognizable. In Spain, in time of Spain, there'll be some local, I say, celebrities or the athletes that I would do some portraits and photos of. I don't know. There was Tito Beltran. He was at the time world champion in jiu-jitsu. There were some other famous, either locally famous or otherwise. But yeah, I don't think I had a lot of sittings with the A-listers. But it's not something I was chased for.
Right.
So it's something you have to wish for.
Right.
But, yeah. And I was too young to understand that having a face that's famous in front of your camera then really elevate your work. But yes, that's it.
But I think as well you want to build towards that, because a lot of people might go into it looking for those famous faces and miss the whole point of being passionate about it and developing your craft.
Yeah,
so eventually, you might get to that. But okay, so that's fine. So what is your favorite type of photography that you like to do? So you mentioned a couple that you do performances and portraits and you've done some fashion, etc. Is there any one in particular that you find your favorite?
I'd say backstage and portrait photography. If I have to pick what to do, that'll be mine.
And then getting into, I suppose, the little technical bits of it as well. Any favorite pieces of equipment, apart from the camera itself, I suppose. Any favorite pieces of equipment that you like to use whilst, doing your shoots, or do you just like to do your photography freehand and just move around? Or
I like doing it freehand.
Okay.
And what I like to do is using, if it's possible, a lot of old gear, a lot of old lenses, old gear. I'm very low tech when it comes to that. My digital cameras are old. I never had best camera, the newest model. I was always at least 5 years behind. I always work like that. I always try to get the most out of the best camera.
Gotcha.
What you have there at the time in your hand, just do what you can.
And according to your website, you've mentioned doing some work for some major pop culture and fashion publications like Vanity Fair and El Hype, which I think is it a Spanish?
It's Spanish, yes.
Lifestyle magazine.
Yeah,
and others. How did you get connected with such amazing companies?
I would love to say it was just my work. So I'm terribly cynical here and old and grumpy, but not. It is a lot of luck that's involved in that. People have to be aware. It's a luck that your work was noticed at the right time by the right people. And you work for somebody, or you work for some agency or for some publicist, and that work got noticed by some of their other clients or whatever. And then you get, it's connections.
Right.
You meet right people at the right time. And it's not, you can't get in your head that, I'm so brilliant, this is why I got this job. No, it is a lot of who you know at what time you know him. So I'm afraid that's how it works. So
no, I think that's a really important point to know as well, because I think people are becoming so much more impersonal, with social media, and not realizing that personality and building rapport is such a big thing. And in addition to having really good work, having the ability to speak and get your name out and get yourself out helps build your profile and gets you jobs as well. So it's like you say, connections, who you know, and you presenting yourself in a manner that
I have to mention as well, I'm terrible try to selling myself. I'm really bad.
You're going against my point, Drazen.
Yes, exactly. That's what I want to say.
Yeah.
I am, but it is important to do that. It is important to do that, and I think I might be even more famous, have better, gigs, and working for some excellent publications, but it's not my biggest passion about the work. So it's not something I chase. I say go and chase it if that's what you really want.
Fair enough.
If that's what you want, if that you think that'll make you happy and that your work is going to be better because of that, because you got big names connected to your work, then go and do it. But otherwise, I know, just be honest to yourself. If do what makes you happy at the end of the day.
In terms of working with such large publications and companies and commercial places like that, what would be like one of the major challenges someone would face being connected to major publications like that?
Major publications, let's say Vanity Fair and stuff, it's a big machinery. So you have to understand that you're a part of one commercial project. There's only few photographers in the world who will get free hand when it goes to creativity. So you always have a creative director. So it's a teamwork.
Right.
It is always a teamwork. It is well oiled. It is well organized. So, but it's coming from different voices. Your voice is one of them. You are the final executor of that photo that's going to be in the magazine. But it's so many photos that you're not having any word in which of your photos will be taken.
Gotcha. Okay.
And that's the thing that I say don't like about it. Because I might think this other photo I think is much better,
right.
But it's not up to you. So you have to get your mind around that you're just part of the team. It's very well organized, it's very well paid, and it's brilliant for that. But you're not the sole people who decides on your creative work.
Right. So like you're a really small part of a bigger machine, sort of thing. So
I guess you're an actor. You have to. It's not just about you and how you want to perform. It's like how your director tells you what he wants from you. So that's it.
You proudly mention on your Instagram bio that you don't use Photoshop in your work, considering many major publications and magazines do airbrush and Photoshop their models or sceneries and other images. Why have you taken a stand not to use Photoshop and other types of editing?
I just like a natural look. I think. But years and years it was taken too far with the photoshopping, with making people look too plasticky, too artificial, and not just setting wrong standards to young people how they should look, setting standards that are completely impossible to achieve unless you have a Photoshop life. I just like natural look. I like natural look of people. I like how people age. I think it adds character. I prefer to take a photo of a beautiful person that's 65 with all the wrinkles and everything than somebody who is artificially plastic with their 20s when they're so beautiful.
Sure.
It's something I like. And yes, all the photos are without Photoshop on my any website or social media. If I did use Photoshop, it was only if I was asked to by my clients. But even then, there was no Photoshop that I would change something on a person.
Right.
I wouldn't take away any wrinkles or something. I would just take away stuff like, I don't know, you having a pimple, that's something that comes and goes. It's just unfortunate you had it on the day of the shoot.
Right.
But if you have a scar, it's your life, and that's part of you.
Right.
So things like that.
Okay, makes sense. So in terms of Photoshop and that sort of stuff, when you're taking pictures themselves, what types of tools or software do you use for post-processing or editing? Is it just, since you ascribe to not using Photoshop, is it just mainly cropping and that's resizing, or do you do any editorial?
I do. You have to. I mean, it's I use Lightroom.
Okay.
And because I shoot everything in RAW, raw format, so it means you have to do some kind of to turn into photography that's useful for screen or for printing. You have to do some kind of edit. Gotcha. But Lightroom, I like it's in the way it gives you. It's a tool that gives you what you had when you were using the film. So developing film, you can use all the other tricks in the old film analog systems, to add a bit more contrast, a bit more sharpening, lights, that kind of stuff. But nothing nothing that you change photography as such.
Keeping it natural.
Keeping it
as much
natural as
possible.
possible, yes. Close to analog, old school, 'cause that's me, old school kind of stuff.
Got you. With your leather jacket, we noticed.
There you go.
Is there any photographer?
Cliche.
Is there any photographer that you grew up watching, or whilst within the profession that you ended up admiring? Anyone that you took really
No,
closely to?
and I was thinking about that, and I can't say any name in particular.
Okay.
I was always attracted by a different photography, and a lot of time I'm attracted to photography that I would never do, but it's there. It's nice. I love to see that, but it's not something that I would do. I necessarily. But I can say this, that I'm not after the big famous names, and that I saw so many photographs that I loved, really loved. There was by people who are not really big in photography names, who might be even amateurs, but they got something about them that they know how to do a good photo and capture. So when it comes to names, I'm really bad. So, I'm really bad.
Got you, no problem. Yeah. If there is anything that you could change about modern photography, what would it be? I know we've spoken about all of the photoshopping and people not being natural. What are the types of things about that you notice in modern photography? If you could change it, what it would be?
Yeah, I think you might. Yeah, that's just because I'm old, I guess. But you can shoot less, but shoot what you think you want to shoot. Not just, I know they say go out and shoot and you'll find your way, you know. But yeah, it's fine, shoot what you want. But now with the social media, people have a tendency to shoot 500 photos of something, whatever, it's an event or the people or anything, nature, and they don't have that little critical eye within themselves to pick their best work out. They just throw that entire, what is it on the memory card, and just throw it out into the world. Right. So you have to be kind of, I would like people to go for quality instead of quantity. Now it's really a lot of quantity out there, and I think modern photography needs a bit more kind of, as it's very popularized lately, as everybody is with the phone got a camera, and even with the phone you can take a brilliant photo, but pick which photo you want to show to the world. You don't need every day 20 Instagram posts. You can have one every 2 days, but even that one could be the really good one.
That's some really good advice. I believe that as well. Of the work that you've done so far in your career, what would you say, if you could think of anything, would be your favorite or most enjoyable, and why?
Most enjoyable. I say working in Spain, back in Spain, in ballet school. Okay. So at the backstage, while the kids, teenagers, were preparing themselves for the Christmas concert. So they had a Christmas performance, and they did Nutcracker, I think. And I was with them for last month of the preparations. So I was coming once a week when they have rehearsals, having rehearsals at the end of the costume rehearsal. I think that was the best time ever. And it was really good. Their innocence of the kids, when they get used to me, so they stop looking at the camera, that I was around, and they're being themselves, playful, but you see this nervousness before their first performance and all that. I love that. That was really good.
That's interesting. So you prefer that innocence and that candid nature of kids who not thinking about anything, compared to a Vanity Fair shoot that feels maybe a little more choreographed and not natural.
Yes.
So, okay.
Even there, when I tried to do the Vanity Fairs, I was always trying to cut things look a bit natural. To be, I never did for the bit commercial stuff, but to look kind of lifestyle photo of a person, to be more natural. But yeah, I like that with the kids. And one of my favorite photos personally that I did is one of the of the ballet girls when they finished their performance, and all the parents and everybody, all the full audience, when they had the standing ovations, and some of them girls are hugging, they're happy, and then I was a little ballerina, she's looking into the audience, and I know that she was looking where her mom is, because I looked there and she was there looking if the mom, if his mom is there. She tried to find the mom in the audience, you know, and it's like those kind of moments that really works for me, and that's something I like to do.
Can you remember any funny stories or maybe any accidents or mishaps that have occurred on any of your shoots that you might remember?
Many, and I'll just tell you one. There was I'll never forget that one. It was in Malta.
Okay.
There were the ladies who were organizing the fashion show, Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week in Malta. And the ladies, after the show, they treat themselves with photo shoot. And they called me. I came from Valencia to do the photo shoot with them as kind of editorial stuff, because they were all kind of ladies in their 40s, 50s, 5 of them, and they would do photo shoot of themselves after the fashion to do their kind of glamour shoot and stuff to be. And we were shooting the last day. It was 3 days stuff, because they were on different locations they organized, and the last day it was park. It was like kind of Chinese gardens in Malta. I can't remember exactly what's the name of the town. And we were around those gardens shooting, and there was like a big pond with a bridge and stuff. And I was.
I think I see where this is going.
Well, no, not really. You'll see this now, because one of the ladies, she had small kids as well.
Okay.
And so kids were with her. And then one of the 3-year-olds, as I was on the other side of the pond and she was there, one of the 3-year-olds just fell and bang into the pond and gone and disappeared under the water.
Wow.
And in that moment, I just threw a camera on the floor and just dived in.
Wow.
So I had to rescue a child. That was the end of the shoot. I didn't want to get wet that day at all. So and that water in the pond, disgusting, green, smelly. It's terrible. But yeah, so I got a kid, and I got a gratitude for the rest of my life.
Very good. Very good. Did you have to perform CPR or something, or the child was still
no,
breathing?
the child was still okay. He was breathing
okay.
But yeah, but he was like a rock gone under straight away. It's like wow. So I said, yeah.
Interesting. That's okay. That's hard to beat, I think.
There we go.
All right. Are there any major projects that you're working on currently that we could probably look forward to?
I have few personal projects going on at the moment. I always do. I'm still in a phase of working through them. And I also work with some charity projects connected to the mental health issues stuff. So I kind of portrait projects as well on the people with any kind of, not just mental health, but also the disabilities, any kind of disabilities. The life can be hard, and even for people without disabilities, but especially with people who are struggling. And I just want to kind of show their face to the world.
Gotcha.
So that's one of my projects that I kind of look forward to it. And then there's another project which is erotica, which is something completely different. But that's it, you know.
Very different. Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. So maybe not erotica, but in terms of that charity work that you're doing, where would we be able to see that? Would it be on your Instagram? Would it be on your website?
I think on the website definitely. I think that project won't be really for Instagram. It might be part of an exhibition later once it's done, but it's all in the air. It's still work in progress. So, but maybe by the end of next year it'll all be out, and then
Gotcha.
A website definitely. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Have you ever thought about moving into videography or any other form of picture capturing other than still photography?
I was thinking about it. I tried it, and I have to say I'm not really good for it.
Okay.
For photography, I think you need a bit less discipline, at least the way I work. Videography, you need from A to Z, you need your flow.
Right.
Otherwise, you're wasting your time and people's time if you don't know what you're doing. With photography, if you got one day and you capture one good photo that day, you did your job. for video is not the same, is it? And so I say, let the people who are good at it do their job. So.
Okay. Okay, so we'll change course just a little bit for the last couple of questions, where we're going to kind of go into film and entertainment in that sort of way.
Yeah.
So, you know, of course, this is the Actors Post, and I'd
Yeah.
be failing the website if I didn't ask you a little bit about acting and film and that sort of stuff. What would you consider your favorite movie of all time?
Oh, it has to be one.
Okay, I'll give you two choices.
You give me two choices. Okay, let's say two. I would say Blade Runner and Seven.
Okay.
Let's go with that. And
which Blade Runner? The originals or the ones?
Original.
Okay, right.
Even though I like the new
ones,
the new one as well. But yeah, the original. And the kind of, it's all because of the atmosphere of the good acting. It's all tension throughout the movie, and also good lighting. And I always, even when I do candid photography, something that the films inspire me more than other photography is that I want to get that cinematography moment in it.
Right.
And that's one of the things I would like to work on a film set one day to try to capture. It's
cool. And then if you had to list out a couple of your favorite actors, anyone that stands out for you, past or present?
Oh yeah, that's plenty. I'll say Pacino has to be there.
All right.
Because
okay.
Pacino is just Pacino. I would say De Niro before, but not anymore. He's just doing some silly choices lately.
He has made, yeah.
It's like, I don't know why, but yes. But I would say Pam Grier, I love her a lot, or Angela Bassett.
Okay.
Between two of them, they're really, really cool. And for some reason, I like Leonardo DiCaprio.
Why for some reason? Why you think?
Because so many people are just skeptical about his work, but I think he made excellent work choices. He's good. He's not, he's not just a baby face, where he's supposed to be. And when it comes to selecting what he wants to work, it's just impeccable. When you see some work that he's doing, and some actors, they're brilliant, but sometimes they just waste their talent on some really questionable movies,
Right,
so that's something. Yeah, that's why I admire him for that.
Fair enough. Okay, and our final question for you today in our interview is, if there is any advice you could give to anyone wanting to become a photographer now or connected to the entertainment industry in any way, what advice would you give them?
Do what you love. In long term, this is going to pay off too. If you can live off it, just as I said before, you can live off something else. Do your other job, part-time, whatever, something that's going to pay your bills, but keep your passion going. I think whatever art form or entertainment you are in is the way you have to do. Because I think not just photographers, I think actors or dancers, artists of all kinds, they struggle to get there, to make their work and their passion into something they can live off. And I know so many talented people around the world, and they can't live off their art. But it's important that you keep doing it.
Right.
You just have to do it. You just do something else to pay your bills, and just keep your passion going on. Because otherwise, we're just like robots then, is it? So.
Excellent advice. I think that's really good. So Drazen, I'd like to thank you very much for sitting down with us today and telling us a little bit about you and your profession as a photographer, and some of your experiences. And I think it will go really a long way to aspiring photographers and entertainers who might take those words of advice and use it for themselves. So thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you very much.